Hey, welcome. My name is Lisa Danilchuk. I'm the founder of the Center for Yoga and Trauma Recovery and the creator of the Yoga for Trauma online training program. I just got inspired to hop on and record this little video for you because I work with a lot of therapists, yoga teachers, wellness providers who want to get into yoga and somatic body-based trauma processing work. And I celebrate it, and I celebrate you for being here and for being curious about this work. It's so amazing and so powerful. But there's one simple mistake that I see a lot of people making, which is to dive into the deep end of trauma, right? So to think, oh, if we got to process something, we got to get in there, we got to connect with the body right away and, just process everything at once. And really, what's more effective is to go slower and to pace and to build what we like to call resources. So, I'm going to share with you today a very simple practice that you can keep in your pocket for any moment when you're in a session or when you're teaching yoga or some kind of somatic practice to someone and they happen to get triggered. I find that that's one of the biggest fears for people who are newer, especially yoga teachers in the group setting or in a group therapy practice. Like, what if someone gets really dysregulated? What do I do? Right. And then you, as the provider, are anxious as well or are activated too. Like, what do I do? What do I do? So I'm hoping, actually, I'm really confident that what I tell you today will help you in that moment because it'll give you resources. You then share those resources with the person who is triggered. Stay until the end because I want to say a really important caveat to what we call a trigger. Just going to be on for a few minutes today. There's so much we could say, but here's the practice I like to give people to help in a moment of trigger. You might have heard of it before. There's some important nuances I want to share today. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're in Europe, you might count a little bit different. All good, right? With your fingers. I know in Europe we do what, like this way instead. So, what is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? It's a way to get present and access your current moment, your current surroundings. Why is this good? I'll share a little more in a moment. Okay, but the first practice, you can do it with me now, is to look around your space and look at 5 things. Find 5 things you can see. Now, usually it helps to get a little more specific there. So I'm going to look for 5 things that are green because that really tunes me into my environment. So I see this plant over my shoulder. I see another plant behind the screen. I see the green light that says I'm recording right now. That's 3. I see another green plant over here, and I see a green, it's got a little bit of blue in it, but I see a green aromatherapy bottle that I have in my office. What else is green? More plants, the grass on the cover of my book, right? So you could go for more. I just named at least 6. 5 things you can see. Okay. So go ahead and give yourself, if you want to add a color, if you want to add some kind of qualifier, sometimes I'll add something that makes it more enjoyable, like 5 things that are alive or 5 things that, you know, I was going to say make me happy, but I think that might be a little too much, right? 5 things that are green, great way to go. Next step, 4 things you can touch. Okay, this one's great. Touch can be really grounding. Now, caveat, I would say in the beginning to not, like, this is all invited. You're inviting the person to find 4 things. In the beginning, especially if you're a somatic sort of yogi type person like me, you might be tempted to guide someone to put their hands on themselves or put their hands together. That's wonderful and fabulous when it's wonderful and fabulous, but I wouldn't guide it at first. I think the good place to start, for so many reasons, we talk about interoception in yoga and getting into our bodies. The good place to start is actually exteroception. So this 4 things you can feel is great for that. So I can feel the coolness of my laptop under my hand. I can feel the smoothness of this pen. I can feel the material of my shirt, and I can feel, oh, I've got this canvas bag here, the texture of this canvas bag. All right. So 4 things you can touch or feel, preferably outside of yourself. I got a little close with the shirt, right? Okay. Next step, 3 things you can hear. So now we're using our ears, and you're going to modify, adapt this if someone's hard of hearing, if someone doesn't have full sight, you're going to change these around, totally fine, right? What can I hear right now? I invite you to do this with me. I hear cars out on Mountain Boulevard. I hear someone closing a door in the hallway. I can hear myself breathing. Again, that one gets a little closer, but I heard it, right? So again, attuning to your environment through your ears. If you need to wait a little while, all good. Sometimes this one brings a little more stillness. So you can see how we're going from a little more easy to access, the things you can see, to the things you can touch. And the hearing gets a little more stillness. Now, the next one, sometimes challenging, 2 things you can smell. Now, I mentioned I have aromatherapy oils, right? It's kind of a greeny blue. Oh yeah, eucalyptus. It actually says eucalyptus blue on the bottle, so I guess it doesn't count for a green thing. My earrings, those are green too. Eucalyptus. So if you have essential oils, smell can be a really powerful grounding scent or sense. Olfactory memories are the strongest. So if it's a neutral or positive smell, it's going to be really powerful in the present moment. Of course, people can also be triggered by a smell. So you wouldn't want to offer something that might be related to a traumatic memory, especially if you have some context there. But this is, you're inviting someone to choose something. What else could I smell? Well, right next to that, I happen to have rose water. I've got all the goods in here. Rose water. Now, sometimes you don't have these things nearby. It's not uncommon for folks to have coffee or tea, or maybe have put some kind of perfume on or have a scent in their, lotion or something. Again, we want to be a little more external. If you can smell the coffee shop across the street, cookies baking down the street, if you can smell something subtle, all good. See how, again, we're getting a little more still and focused, because this one gets potentially more challenging. And don't be shy, man. I've had people be like, I can smell myself. I didn't put deodorant on today. That's fine, right? Whatever we can smell. We'll just be honest. We'll just be real. The last one, 2 choices here. One thing you can taste. Again, if someone's holding a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, some water, we can taste that water. If there's really nothing in the environment, right? You're like, what am I going to taste? Then a simple positive belief about yourself, or a simple mantra, a simple word, just landing on this one thing to ground the practice. So again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste, or 1 positive word or mantra. All right. So that's the practice. The purpose is to go out of whatever the association, the emotion, the trigger, the traumatic memory that might be intruding on the present, to step out of that time frame in the past and step into the present, to intercept patterns of thought, to intercept the physiology around that action, right? So this isn't processing a trauma. You see how it's different? Diving in the deep end is like, let's get in there, and how does it feel, and what's happening in your body. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lots of other practices are resources to pause and connect with the present moment, to pace yourself as you move through this trauma. So triggers, when we use that word, again, we could go through a whole discussion about this, but a lot of times it's like an overwhelming emotion in the present related to the past. So what this does is intercepts that. If you did have a student in a group setting where they were in a full flashback, using smell, using touch, using orientation to the present is going to manage that situation in a way that hopefully feels good for you if you're a facilitator, and hopefully is really helpful for that person experiencing the intrusion or the flashback. Yeah. Here's the important caveat I told you to stick around for. I invited you to stick around for, which is, we think of triggers as this big, overwhelming, like you're going to see it, like someone's going to start enacting a battle in the back of the yoga class or in the middle of a group therapy session. It's not that that never happens, but it's much more rare. What's much more common with a trigger is either internal activation you might not see or deactivation, right? More of that hypoarousal, even dissociation, disconnection, fragmenting, distancing, glazing over. Yeah, it's kind of like that quiet kid in the classroom, right? The kid that's loud and throwing things gets the attention, maybe gets sent to the principal's office, hopefully gets sent to a counselor or therapist for support, like, hey, what's going on? What's behind this behavior? But the quiet kid in the back, who's off in another land completely internally, might not get that attention. So, what I want to share with you today is that this practice is helpful for both of those displays, both of those experiences, both of those reactions to trauma. Because if we are disconnecting and dissociating, we're not super present. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a simple practice, and I didn't create this. I wish I could credit who did. It's very popular. You might have heard of it. I hope you're learning more helpful tools about it today if it is familiar to you. But this is something that you can use that helps a lot more of the spectrum. It's not just bringing down hyperarousal or bringing up hypoarousal. There are other tools we can use, again, when we're really getting in there, processing trauma, regulating our nervous system, lots of tools there. But this is a wonderful place to start, a wonderful tool to have in your toolbox for you if you're holding space for anyone, maybe even your kids, someone in your family, a sibling, a parent, someone who gets overstimulated, someone who disconnects, someone who you're like, are you here with me? You could play this even as a game. So that's my offering for you today. I hope you find it helpful. Please share it wide and far. Share this video, share this practice, share your love. Keep on doing that. The world really needs all this, so much healing, right? Like so much healing. So every little bit that you can share, I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate you and thank you for being here. Take good care. Namaste.